Hello and welcome to my first Paladin guide and my first Paladin that I actually play. So this time I tried a bunch of different ways to play a physical Paladin and it didn't really work. So I tried Procadine, which was the most decent one, I think, was Procadine. And then I tried, Oradin and some other bullshit. It didn't work. And then I tried Charge and a really high damage physical weapon. And it did decent damage, but Splash is bugged. Doesn't work with Charge, so that didn't really work either. And it was desyncing a lot, so it wasn't really... It was like missing a lot and not splashing, so it kind of doesn't work, when you try to kill a lot of monsters, which is kind of the goal, So anyway, I ended up going for Dashing Strike, and it seems it has the most potential. The only other thing that I did not try was Vengeance and Absolution, but I heard Absolution doesn't really work either from a bunch of other people, so I'm gonna trust, a bunch of other people and not really go with that route either. So since it's a new spell, it's kinda that's all I kinda need to not try it, People already tried it, a lot of people tried it, so then the only thing left would be, for a melee would be Vengeance. And Vengeance is based on weapon damage, so I theory crafted the Vengeance with my same, weapon that has really high damage that I also use with Charge. It's a synthesized weapon, has a ridiculous damage, but then with the theory crafting with that particular weapon, which is, unobtainable, kind of, it only has dropped once, ever. So with that weapon, it has like 10k Vengeance damage, which is 3 different elements. So realistically, you're only hitting, about 6.6k, which is, one monster is usually immune to something. So in the red maps or whatever, those kind of places, you're doing like 6k elemental damage, which does splash. It does splash, I've been told, but I haven't tried it. I might try it later when I finish this character completely or get bored enough that I go for Vengeance. But right now I'm showing a Dashdin build that I found very effective at mapping and a lot of other things as well. It's good at killing stuff, basically. And what you can expect from playing this build is it's gonna be a struggle to get the items. It's always gonna be the items. The fucking items, they don't drop, they don't exist on trade. It's really difficult to get them because they need specific rolls, specific slams, or it just happens to be the most rare item in the entire game. And that's why it's hard to find. You actually need those key items to use Dashing Strike for killing. Otherwise it's a very slow build and it doesn't make any sense if you don't have these items. So that's why I recommend in early game, if you're going to play Paladin only, like me, to use Holy Bolt. Holy Bolt is much cheaper and much faster in the beginning, so you can actually farm some hell content really early with Holy Bolt compared to melee Paladin, which is extremely difficult to play in the early game and slow. So there's also the route of going Holy Bolt, and then when other players in the game are mapping or doing bail runs and you want to be leeching exp, you can be Oradin. So you could go Holy Bolt, and then you could put a point in Salvation and a point in conviction for the early season, and then you can be really useful in a lot of situations. Even the Ubers can be extremely beneficial to have. Just you stand there with 2 auras, and then the Sork or whatever other character can just melt the bosses. So that works really well as well. You know, if you want to be a kind of support player, you don't really need to go all in fucking support. You only need to have 1 click in salvation, 1 click in conviction, and that's it. You know, you can even go vigor. It depends how old the season is. If it's early, conviction and salvation are gonna be the most useful ones, but later vigor is gonna be more useful. Vigor and maybe holy freeze, you know, when people already have their mercenaries with all the pride and fanaticism, bow, and you know, all these things. So then you can get holy freeze and vigor if you want to play that way. But honestly, AFK Oradin is very unsatisfying, and it's not really fun to play. And playing Holy Bolt is definitely something that people do, and they later go to Fist of Heaven, and that's a different build. You can definitely do that, but this is a melee paladin, so that's what you can do. You know, it's not really worth it to go like invest into Fist of Heavens, because it has lightning damage and all these different items that you're not gonna use in dash. So it's better if you either play like a Sork in Magic, find all these items, buy all these items, you know, or play a Holy Bolt Paladin and find all these items. So you can't really play it without the items, you know. So that kind of sucks with the build in general, is you can't play it without the items. So that's what you can expect in the early game, or when you're starting this character, is, you know, you're gonna suck for a while. A very long time, unless you boost your character in some other way, you know, using a different character or whatever, you know. So that's it, you know. And as you can see on the screen, you can see where I chose to click, you know, my combat skills and all these things. It's kind of simple, actually. You can see already I just went dashing, and these 2 are only to get there, you know. The prerequisite to get to dashing, you know, you need to take those. So it's just full here, and the rest is salvation until I reach max resists, and then defiance. And the only reason for defiance is it's a synergy for smite and a synergy for holy shield, so it gives you more passive defense and more passive damage with smite. Not that it actually matters, honestly, smite doesn't matter, but holy shield defense, it matters a little bit, because yeah, it makes a little bit difference. So I actually recommend doing this. I didn't take vigor. You can't take vigor, you can't take holy freeze, you can't take conviction, you know, sacrifice some points here from defiance and be more versatile. You know, you can definitely do that. There's nothing wrong with it. This is just like whatever for me, and I plan on getting some swap item with some useful aura later on, you know, when it drops, if it drops, you know. And then for your stat points over here, you go strength 106. And then you equip something that gives you, like an amulet, that in my case an amulet that gives me at least 10 strength, and then you put your helmet on, and then you can take the amulet off. So you're getting 106 strength, and then you're getting enough dexterity to max block, and then the rest in vitality. And for the mercenary, it's quite simple. I will show you in game. So let's go to game. Okay, let's go into a game. Alright, so now we're in the game. So this is what you do. You have an amulet with some strength, more than 10, and then when you do that, you can strength buggy saving some stats. And the reason for that is the helmet, which is Undal. This is key. This is one of the first things that you can get, because it's very cheap and very common drop, because it's a set item, so it drops very often, you know. So So this gives 10 strength, so that's why you can strength bug a little bit with this build, and and the reason why this is the key item here is because it has 50% cooldown reduction buff. So that's how it works. You know, it can be confusing when you read the first, the top line here, what gain 50%, etc., etc. What happens is when you strike a target, when you hit a target, when you land a hit, you gain 50 CDR, 50% cooldown reduction. The stat, you know, you gain it, and it lasts 4 seconds. So, so you. The reason why we have smite damage, we're using smite, is because it hits every time. So even though it doesn't do much damage, look at it, it's really low. Let's see if maybe it goes up when we use Holy Shield. Actually, it's a bit more. Yeah, it's only 1000 maximum, 950, you know, or something average. It's really low. But that's not the point of smite. The point of using smite is because, one, it's not gonna desync the character like fucking charge, and two, it's not gonna miss like fucking charge because of that, you know, and then we can't get the buff and use the skill that we kill monsters with, you know. So charge doesn't work good for that because of those reasons, and yeah, so even though it hits harder, like when we're fighting maybe one monster, charge is gonna hit a lot more. Like we killed that, and we can see here smite 1k and charge 2.5k, and we do have good attack rating. It's just that when you're dealing with a lot of monsters, it like desyncs your character, and you're like swinging in the air and you're missing stuff, and the more you kill and the more you move, the more you're desyncing, and it's just gonna like lag out and teleport you somewhere from 20 seconds ago. You know, it's just fucked. So we use smite to proc this every time we hit. So it's reliable, and we know what we're doing all the time. You know, when we smite, we know. Now we can start dashing, right? Because dashing has a cooldown, and that's the skill that we use to kill stuff. So in case you didn't already know from the title and all the intro, you know, dashing strike is the skill that we kill with, and it deals magic damage when you land, and the way it works is it's basically a flame dash from druid, but it has magic damage. So it doesn't strike, even though it says, you know, dashing strike. It does not strike. It just teleports you and does magic damage when you land, and when you land, you also stun them for 3.7 seconds. And while I've been sitting here talking about this ability, in case you haven't noticed, we have like 1,000 monsters attacking us right now, and this is because we have so much defense. We can just stand there and do whatever we want. It doesn't matter, and this is why I really like this build a lot. For being a melee, it's actually very tanky and like forgiving, you know, because you can have a Holy Shield and all this block rate, and yeah, it's just it's a good time actually. And then it stuns, you know, when you land this spell. Dashing strike stuns and deals magic damage. Costs a lot of mana. So the mana we're gonna talk about that later, but that's how the spell works. So we go to the hag and we dash, and then we smite and then we can dash. So we're dealing with more monsters somewhere where there is monsters. Not in this area, obviously. There's no monsters here. But let's try again. See if we can get somewhere where there's monsters. Fuck, I don't have the charges to fucking teleport. Let's hope there is some monsters here somewhere. Okay, so we smite once and then we can dash. I don't know what happened there, but oh, we're using the wrong item. So we can smite once and then we can dash. And we can dash, like you see, many times in a row, because we have 4 seconds to dash from the helmet that we get the buff. But if you paid close attention, you would see it only gave 50% cooldown reduction. So the other 50 needs to come from somewhere else, and the only place they can come from is the boots that have cooldown reduction. And the boots that you use don't matter too much as long as they have cooldown reduction. And they could either give you Magic Find, which is the best kind of boot. It doesn't have to be a War Traveler, but if it gives you Magic Find, it's gonna be good. And cooldown reduction is a requirement. And then so that's 10%. And then the other 10%, the other percent we need is 40%. So we get another 10 from Tyrael's Might. So this is the only armor that can, or the only other item that can give cooldown reduction. So it gives 10% at the bottom. You can see there it gives 10% reduced skill cooldown. It's same as cooldown reduction. And then the other stats are like kind of weak for being an armor. It doesn't have skills or anything like nice. It has all rest though. All rest is nice, and the Canopy Frozen is nice, so we don't need to have Raven or sacrifice a socket for a Charm Rune, because we're gonna need attack speed for this build, and that's the reason we put attack speed and splash damage jewel in the Tyraels and not anywhere else, because the Tyraels is the hardest item to find in the game in terms of the drop chance is extremely difficult. So they don't exist that many. So the odds of us, changing this armor to something else is very low. So I put the attack and the speed and splash in this, because then I don't need to worry about those having that jewel somewhere when I'm gathering all the other items. So that's what I did and what I recommend. So we get 15% attack speed here and the splash, and we get cooldown. If we were lucky, we would have 3 more sockets. We could put facets in it, or some resist that we need with attack speed, or we could put mana after each kill. Those are the kind of stats that we really need to map fast, So that's what you can do if you have more sockets than me, but I don't, so that's what I did. And then so remember, we have 50% cooldown, 10% cooldown, 10% again, so that's 56, 70 with the boots. And then with the shield, we have to use this shield, and this shield can roll 30 cooldown reduction, but it doesn't always do that. It's only 1 in 10 that rolls that, because it has a roll between 20 and 30, so it's 1 in 10 that roll 30%, and then it also rolls 1 to 2 paladin skill levels, which matters a little bit, in terms of damage. It makes a difference. So this shield is also very hard to find, and once again, like I said in the beginning, and I've said before after that, the gear is extremely difficult to find, and it's not really a viable starting build to play this. It's not gonna work, So we use this 30% CNC'd fucking Alma Negra with the Larsuk, and we put the poison resist jewel in it, because we need poison resist. See, before we showed that we have Defiance and Salvation, and Defiance was quite high level, but the Salvation was not, and the reason is we don't need to have a high level Salvation to reach a max res, and the Defiance is for passive synergy bonuses. So putting not a jewel, but a fucking what's this called now? I don't remember, but this perfect gem right here, the green one, if you put that, they give 40%. It's more than the Tal rune, so when we put that in the shield, it's actually the best thing for the shield. So yeah, we do that to reach poison resist. The other way you can reach poison resist is with your small charms, and the reason for poison resist, in case you didn't know, is this only raises elemental damage, so elemental resistance, so it doesn't. It says resist all here on the text, but it does not resist all. It only resists elemental. It does not resist poison. So we need to put something for poison, so that's either see here I got some with the poison, and then we good poison here, and in case you noticed before, we have Tal in the Undal because poison again. So that's what you need to have a little bit more poison. So you can also use here like these Sandstorm tricks. I have them as well, and there's nothing wrong using them. It's just I think the Magic Find enables you to use more facets or more, you know, it just enables you to kill faster or get more loot, you know, when you min maxing the stuff. So War Traveler is the best actually, but the gloves, however, do not matter. You only need attack speed from the gloves or poison res, so you can use a yellow glove, you know, a rare glove or a blue glove, as long as it has as much attack speed as possible. This damage to demons, it works with smite, but smite is only for like leeching and hitting, you know, basically getting you like leeching every like few seconds. You get a few smites and leech a little bit, you know. Ideally you only smite once, but if you smite so fast you usually end up doing like 2 smites maybe. So yeah, or if you like run out of this buff, you know, like the cooldown reduction for 4 seconds, if you cast your dashing strike when this just about ends and you don't get that, have that CDR buff on, you have a 2.5 second cooldown on your dashing, so then you benefit a little bit from the damage to demons. But otherwise this is not necessary. You only need attack speed on it, and maybe poison res and magic find is ideal, you know. Best in slot would be actually a crafted one, a crafted caster that has 3 mana per each kill and 30 attack speed, you know, 20 and then slam 10 attack speed on it, so you get 30 with the magic find and mana per kill and the poison resist. That would be the best glove for this build, but yeah, I didn't even come close. I've tried a few of those glove crafts, but I didn't get anything like that yet. So yeah, and there's also the slam, so that's very unlikely. But anyway, we use this. This is very easy to find, so can get that quite fast. Anyway, belt has attack speed, slam, and it's a Verdungo. This is the first time I use this belt. I usually don't, but the reason why is because it has rep life, and I usually use String of Ears on all my melee builds and physical builds and all that, so because of life leech. But with this build it doesn't leech that much because smite doesn't do much damage and charge doesn't really work. So Verdungo is the best because the replenish life is quite high and buffed in PoD, so it gives you know, a lot. I don't know, let's say what you can give 12.7 per second, which is way more than vanilla, and it gives the same PDR roll as String of Ears. So I went for Verdungo for the first time and I really like it. It keeps your life up enough, so you really don't need to drink that much. Red potions, you don't really need to drink them that much. Yeah. And then for rings, it's quite simple. Stone of Jordan. Ideally you get run, walk or physical damage reduction depending on your playstyle. You know, you can kind of figure which one is for which, you know, PDR for defensive and, you know, run, walk for offensive purposes, you know. So or magic find you can also use. It doesn't really matter, but the reason for Stone of Jordan is 1 all skills and mana. Mana is going to be necessary to have a decent mana pool if you want to use dashing to strike a few times in a row, you know, and not be really low on mana, or you know, get one mob to fucking mana burn you and you be down to 0 and, you know, be struggling with your hotkeys, drinking and running and fucking around, you know. So you really need to have Stone of Jordan or a really big mana pool with this, or not really big, but you know, like you can see on screen right now, 340 is decent, you know, that's enough. However, I don't have 2, I only have 1 Stone of Jordan and this rare ring with some mana on it and replenish life. I didn't have this before. I only got this a few days ago, and like before you start thinking you maybe have so much rep life, you know, because of this. But before, when I only had this not too long ago, I was using this for a very long time, and it works really well in like white maps. In yellow maps you drink a little bit more often, but then I found this and it just put it over the edge with that extra 7, you know, where I really don't need to drink that many red potions. It's only when I get hit by something that hits me really hard. But these small hits, they replenish, so my HP doesn't go down very much. You're gonna see later when I play. So that's why I use the rep life and just flat mana ring. The run, walk and attack rating doesn't matter. The run, walk is nice, but the attack rating doesn't matter. So anyway, you see now the build is not very like min-maxed or anything right now, but it works. You're gonna see when I map in a moment. So anyway, the last item on the character to get, for me anyway, would be Astrions. The reason it's why is because it has 5 sockets, which is nice. It would be nicer if it could have 6, but it has 5 anyway, so it can't slam 6, but that would be nice, right? But the reason why we use this, it has combat skills. It can roll up to 4. You can see all the rolls here. There's quite a few rolls that you can get, but these rolls, they don't matter too much. The ones that are nice is the combat skills, hopefully +4. You know, that would be ideal because it boosts your dashing strike damage and all, and some more defense and such from Holy Shield. So, but anyway. The damage is good, you know, the damage 255 ED and the damage +81, you know, it's whatever kinda, it's good enough so that you leech with smite, but the way you leech with smite is through melee splash. That's why we have it in the tier of smite. We need to have something with splash, because then we can leech and get mana leech and life leech. So the damage from this is okay, just for reference, 130, 150, you know, average damage is kind of okay-ish for this, it works. And then it has some extra magic damage, which is okay, but the real reason is the combat skills. The other way you can play is you can use this, which I have on the mercenary right now. You can use silence on your main character, and this is a really good item to get before you find Astrions, because this only costs a Vex and the East to make, and then you make it in a faceblade, so it has a really the best attack speed breakpoints in the game, and then you don't need much attack speed from your other stuff, so that fixes the attack speed which you need to cast dashing, because dashing uses attack speed when you attack, or when you're casting dash, it swings the weapon with your attack speed animation, and then you need to have high attack speed animation to cast it faster. So this helps, you know, and it also has 20 attack speed on the rune word, and it also has 2 all skills, so this is definitely better than a +2 Astrion, you know, because it also has cleansing aura, and that clears poison, and it clears curses like Decrepify, which would reduce your attack speed. So this is very useful to have on yourself or on your mercenary, like in my case. So either way you play, you can get this and use on your main character, and then build a mercenary, and then you hopefully have Astrions, and then you can swap. Because I really recommend the Act 3 mercenary for this, and that's a really nice progression type of thing that exists for this build, that otherwise doesn't exist for this build. The only thing, right, is you can reuse the fucking silence. Vex in the East, you can save it. Wow. Anyway, yeah, so this gives all resistance as well, and mana stolen per hit for your main character would be awesome right in the beginning, where you don't have other sources of mana, regeneration or a Stone of Jordan you might not have, you know. So this is really helpful in the beginning, extremely helpful. All these stats are really good for early game, and then eventually you can give it to your Act 3 mercenary. And but if you have Astrions early, or if you're already, you know, planning to do this when you have Astrion and not really whatever, if you're planning to have Astrion, this is what I recommend, to put in a 5-socket Astrions. So it would be mana per kill jewels, 3 of them, with attack speed on each of them, so that you get 55 attack speed, and then the other would be magic facets, and you don't really need the magic skill damage to be high, you only need to reduce the enemy magic resistance. The reason why is because the dashing strike has a lot of cooldowns, but it has a lot of synergies. It has, so look at these synergies here, 3 synergies, each of them give 12% per click, and that's the same as having a facet with X amount of percent. So when you add all these together, all these bonus percentages, the facet percentage bonuses are gonna be like a piss in the ocean. It doesn't matter. It's gonna give you like 150 damage increase. It doesn't really matter, you know. So you want to reduce enemy magic resistance, because that's really gonna slow you down in the mapping stage of the game. So this is more late, right? Later in the game you're gonna be looking at these kind of things, right? So you want to have 2 fastest with -5 on it, so you get 10, and then 3 attack speed jewels, so you get 55 attack speed, and hopefully mana after each kill on these jewels. What happens when you have 55 here 10 here and the splash attack speed here and the 30 attack speed glove, is you get the highest attack speed breakpoint for the caduceus. But if you use only a silence faceplate and the attack speed laying of hands and the splash jewel, you will reach the same breakpoint. So that's why I say this is really good in the early game, because you don't need many things or many cool slams or stuff like that, or jewels or stuff. You can use this straight off the gate and be really good, and also be very tanky, because 75 aura and cleansing aura is no joke. It's really good. So that's why I use it on the mercenary now, and he gives me the aura, and he gets capped all resist so easy, and a little bit of magic find and heat recovery, which is kind of helpful but doesn't really matter. A little bit of attack speed, it doesn't really matter, because the Act 3 mercenary in this season actually uses castrate to cast his spell, and the AI for mercenary is way different now. So at least for this one here. So look at him. He stands there and then he backs away. Look, he shoots. And now it's a wall behind him, so maybe he's not gonna do what he's supposed to do. But let's go away a little bit, see if we can get him in a bunch of monsters here. Let's see if he's trying to escape. It actually is kind of blocked now, but you could see at least before that he kind of shoots and he kind of backs away. And either way, when you're playing this class, what you're doing is you're dashing, right? And when you're dashing, your mercenary will teleport with you. So your mercenary can be kept safe quite easily, because you're almost constantly, using dashing strike. So even if he's over there, he comes back and gives you the cleansing immediately. So you don't need to worry about the mercenary too much. And the reason for Act 3 and this build is also because meditation aura. And the one thing that you suffer a lot is mana. And this because 20 mana cost here and 8 mana cost to charge. So when you're moving, now I have meditation aura, but without this, I can't really delete the mercenary. But it drains the mana a little bit here, and if I wouldn't have Stone Jordan and meditation aura, it would drain the mana when I'm fighting. Using dash, I wouldn't have full mana, but I would have like half mana maybe moving somewhere like that just did right now, and then it would be actually about 0. So yeah, that helps. And anyway, the other stuff I put on mercenary is just the shaft stuff with fucking rubies in it, because I don't know what to put, because he has all the stuff maxed. So I put just life, because he might not get one shot as easily when I do that, and it doesn't cost me anything. So that's what I did. But the shaft stop is really only for the physical damage reduction 30%, and has really good defense and some extra against missile, which is pretty good actually for mercenary, which goes and stands in the back. So this helps a little bit more than usual, this missile defense, because that's kind of all the damage he takes when you map, because you kind of kill the stuff which you dash to. So the only thing that's around you is the stuff that's shooting. So let's have a look here. I'll kind of show you hopefully what I mean. It's like that, and look how he's standing there in the middle of the screen and got a few shots, and then he got a few shots here, but at this point I'm already dashing before that little monster hit him, so he kind of always taking missile damage. So it kind of helps even more, a little bit extra, so he uses that. It doesn't get hit as often, and then when he gets hit, it takes a much less damage. And then we use Storm Shield, exact same reason. He can now block. He couldn't block before, but now he can block. So using a CNC Storm Shield, and it gives him above capped physical damage reduction, which is 50, but with these two it's 30 plus 30, so it's 60, and so it gives a little bit more, but that's all right. It gives strength, cold rest, light rest. It's just all these things that he doesn't really need because of silence. And then but if there is a conviction aura, he won't suffer. If there is a decrepify, he will suffer, but only for a moment. It will be cleansed, and he won't have minus PDR. He will have 10 PDR still, so still be good. Helmet, I just have Andy's. I just gave it Andy's because I had found the CNC Andy's like yesterday, but he could probably use nothing, honestly. This is enough. So anyway, he doesn't really die. He's really tanky, and that's mainly due to how he moves, honestly. Like his AI, how he like backs away instead of just stand like a stupid fucking, and also that the fact that I'm dashing all the time, so it really helps him to survive, you know. And that's the main gear. And the mercenary gear on swap is kind of like I always do. We have a Holy Thunder, and it allows us to teleport 60 times. And this is what I hope to get with some useful aura like Holy Freeze or Conviction or some shit, I don't know, some aura, you know, to, you know, have a nice aura here. Instead of this, I might have, you know, Holy Freeze aura instead of Defiance. I would probably prefer. Holy Freeze is really good when you're teleporting, because the monsters, they just hit so slow that even if you don't have cast rate with this build, you can teleport past monsters. So early game, I can definitely recommend having Holy Freeze just for your swap teleport mechanic to be very smooth. Trust me, like it's really smooth. You just teleport like usual. Don't care that you have -10 all res. Just try it. And then anyway, you have a spirit here to make up for the fact that you're not using salvation aura on this swap. And since you're a paladin, you can use a shield with 45 all res, you know, and then put spirit on top, so you can get this kind of all res buff, which is about the same as you get from salvation. Look at it, 83 from this, and this gives 77, except the fire. But in our case, we have laying of hands, so kind of we can teleport, you know, with almost capped resistances. I guess cold was lagging behind for some reason, but anyway, we could probably reroll this and get, you know, 73 cold res, 72 or whatever, yeah, and then we have a better Annihilus, and then we have 75. But in my case, it's a mid Annihilus and a decent torch, and the skill charms are just plain. I guess one have life, but the other ones are plain, and the magic find on the smalls, and some, like I showed before, with poison resist, and a hit recovery. It's just random. I can't remember the hit recovery breakpoint anymore. The character is not like min-maxed on hit recovery, and honestly it doesn't matter, because you're getting hit so seldom. I don't even know what my animation look like, honestly. Like, you're blocking more often, and they're missing more often, and the times you get hit by a physical attack is very, very rare. So I haven't really bothered with the hit recovery, but you can definitely look this up and min-max the hit recovery and magic find and poison resist and that with your small charms, but it's not really that necessary. You won't need to get in a decent, you know, range, you know, with all these things. Like for me, 10k dashing is decent, or 9.7k thereabouts. If you're having 2 facets, that's very good place to start mapping. You know, obviously you need to have the cooldown reduction, but yeah, and the resist, but yeah, otherwise, yeah. Okay, let's do this. It has low resist and decrepify curse. It's a decomposing, so it's a very short map, but let's do a little bit of it. Hopefully you can see what I mean. We don't need to do the whole map, but we can go like a little bit and then go to the boss. So let's show off the build now, how it works. We could have teleported here with our stick, but yeah, usually there's some monsters there. Oh, we instantly get a drop, and that's because we have, you know, War Travelers and Topaz in the helmet. So we have above 100 MF. We have 130 or something like that MF. So anyway, we're walking around here with charge, so we don't really need vigor. And then we go and smite, and then we swap skill and start dashing. I always kind of hit a few more times than I need, because I don't know, something happened now. I can't see what's going on. I have the wrong weapons. Okay, here we go. Stupid wall, like I can't see shit. So as you can see, also like not always. I'm also recording a video and talking about what I'm doing, so it's not like I'm hyper focused on the cooldown stuff right now. But you can see a little ball, a white ball around my character, and it's giving me that buff. That's the buff, you know, from the helmet, the cooldown, the 50 CDR buff. So that's one way you can see that you have the buff on, is when you have the ball around your character. So when you have the ball around your character, you know that you have ability to use dashing with cooldown reduction. But your dashing can still be on cooldown even though you get the buff. So if you cast the dashing and you don't have the buff, you get your cooldown 2.5 seconds. If you hit with smite, you still have the cooldown, and you can see the cooldown down by the mana bar. When I swap to smite right now, you can see the cooldown above the mana, below the, right next to the mana bar, I should say. You can see the cooldown. So let's just use until we get that cooldown. Okay, and now you can see the cooldown, and I go back. So it's user friendly, unless you haven't activated Windows like me. You can not so user friendly, but anyway. Hopefully you don't have that bullshit here. It's actually the first time that this is in the way of a game for me. But anyway, yeah. So you can see that the pace is decent. And imagine if I played perfectly, it would be like now I just fucked up, used it too many times. It goes fast, you know. It's really fast when you hold your mouse down and start yeeting around, and you can very easily, you know, get caught up in that and miss your chance to smite or even charge. Like charge does hit, like it does. It's not like it always miss, but it does when you're trying to focus a group of monsters or a single target. Charge is sometimes weird, especially when you have open space. But when you're against the wall, the charge usually hits the target more often, you know, than otherwise. So we can use charge to proc the dashing, but it can be very hard to see that white ball in all this bullshit going on. And we can't see our buff here like other buffs for some reason, which I really hope we can do next season or something. So that's why I recommend using smite, even though charge has more damage, and you can get, with in my case 14,000 charge damage. It's just unreliable, and it messes up your mapping because you're not aware of if you're able to use dashing without getting cooldown or not. And when you get cooldown, you have cooldown for 2.5 seconds, and you don't want to teleport into a bunch of monsters and fucking stand there for 2.5 seconds or even half a second to figure out, oh shit, I didn't have the cooldown, I need to swap back to charging. So definitely recommend smite. And I'm the type of guy that fucking plays with mana potions and stuff when I play sorceress. I don't even use Phoenix a lot of times when I play sorceress. You know, playing the piano on the fucking keyboard, and I don't want to play, you know, that with charge, because I simply cannot see the buff. I would maybe play more with charge if I could see the buff over here, or if I had a big yellow thing, or it was massive, you know, if it was visible, basically was what I'm saying. Anyway, so that's how you kill some monsters. As you can see, it's quite fast, you know. It's not, oh, this is pretty dense, we're gonna slaughter this shit. This is more like a T3 or T4, T2 map, you know. So here a bit more dense. And here you can see also about how big the AoV of the spell is. You could see here. You can rewind and watch it again, and you can see about how big the radius of this dashing strike is. And it does not do huge radius, you know, range. It does do good damage though, but the range is not so great. So that's one drawback. So dense maps is nice, you know, but after a certain density, it doesn't really matter. It just take you longer, you know. It's not like a Javson that clears the whole screen and then a little bit more on the next screen, you know, where density can make you farm extremely fast. You know, we get extremely fast, you know, kill speed or monster kills per second or whatever you want to say, you know. So anyway, here we have the boss. So this boss is very dangerous, right? he usually is fucking kills me, you know. But lately I've been doing a bit better on him when I adapt a little bit of strategy, and also all this gear that gives me the resistances and other stuff, you know. So first I kill all the stuff here, make sure everything clear of monsters, and Raldin is fine, don't need to worry about mercenary. We just kill stuff here, and the same goes when we kill the boss. We really never worry about mercenary when he has storm shield. So anyway, I go for charge first, and then we go smiting a little bit, and this is to like, he gets like in some weird fucking state when you do this, where he like doesn't want to do so much corpse explosions as usual. So he kinda, you do the fire shit and the doll shit. So you can just stand here and hold this, and then eventually he will do that. When he do that, he can start doing the fucking explosion stuff. So you want to quickly get back and smite him. So you can stand here and do this the slow way. Drink a little bit of potions, because he won't do this corpse explosion that often. But if you really want to kill him, you need to play the game, and then you start to use dash just the same way you would kill any other monster. It's the same way, smite and dash, you know, keep the cooldown, and he dies much faster obviously because you have way more damage with dashing. But I'm just trying to show you that, you know, you can play him a bit safely and slow with the charge or smite, and then you could, you know, if you're really early in the game, you could swap for a weapon that has more damage. This has really low damage. You can switch to a weapon with high damage, and you can get the leech from the charge, and you don't need to really suffer against this white map boss, because Decomposing Settlement otherwise is a very nice map to clear for this build. So so that might be good to know for you. Maybe not, but I'm gonna mention it either way. Yeah, and then I think I didn't really mention something, but I think it's worth mentioning is the amulet that I have. It's a blue amulet with some mana stolen on it. This is pretty good to have mana steal on it. The skills is to boost dashing, but I forgot to mention you can also use High Lords. It has attack speed and also all skills. Not as many all skills, you know, or you know, skills to dashing, you know, as this does, but it has good amount anyway, and it has attack speed, so you could use another facet instead of attack speed mana after each kill, like in your weapon or whatever socket you have, you know, for that purpose, you know. So that's a way to do it as well. High Lord is more easily obtainable, I guess. More people would actually maybe collect the High Lords than would collect blue amulet, I guess. You know, everyone picks up a unique amulet. It kind of depends on the market, you know. But anyway, that's worth mentioning and keeping in mind. Farming bosses like token stuff is very easy, like I showed you with Nil Attack right now, which is way harder than Bale or Diablo. Diablo dies in a few seconds with dashing strike, and Bale he will take maybe 4 rounds of dashing before he dies, maybe 5, you know, dashing. For me, about that, it doesn't take much time to kill those bosses, you know. Mephisto is dead in like 1 second, you know. So those kind of things are easy when you have all these items that I have right now and all the skill charms and that. So farming tokens is quite easy with this. The only thing is the wave 2 in Bale, which is magic immune, guys. So you can use charge there or smite, and you have to drink a little bit to clear that, and it takes little bit, takes a minute or two, you know, to clear all those things because of their immunities. But anyway, when it comes to Ubers, those kind of bosses, we can definitely kill Ubers because you have resistances from Salvation, and you can get, you know, a fade buff from Treachery that you can swap in, and maybe, you know, put some more resistance, small charms or whatever you need for Mephisto, you know, and then you just smite and use the freaking potions when you need, and then you fucking use dashing as much as possible, and you should be able to kill Mephisto that way. Otherwise, you can just bring any friend that has elemental damage, like a sorceress that has really high elemental damage, like a Hydra Source or Blizzard Sork or whatever, and use one click in Conviction, and just he will melt those bosses.
It depends how many all skills you have and that type of stuff, but bosses like Ubers are possible. You can kill them, and you can use life tap by very many different ways, and kill them solo as well. If you find that you lacking life regen when you're trying to kill them, but it's definitely possible with this build without changing too many things, without respecting. With clone, it's a different story. You can't leech with smite, that well there, and the one thing that you have is Tyraels, which has slain monsters rest in peace. This helps there, I guess, because those corpses don't reanimate, and wake up. But so you can teleport to the edge, to the right corner of this area where you fight Declone, and there is a narrow path where you could actually kill one monster at a time, if you manage to also before that pull clone to the left side of the map so that he doesn't aggro you when you stand there. You could really slowly kill this army of monsters, and then eventually kill the commander. So it's a bit risky, it's a bit slow to do it that way, but it's definitely doable. I will try later, and I've done that a few times, that kind of strategy, and it works in clone fights for most things. So clone is possible, but it's not really a clone build. Don't do it, really don't do it unless you're bored or whatever, don't expect to come out of there with Annihilus, it's probably not gonna happen, at least not the first time. Anyway, end game mapping, when it comes to that, it's like white maps, starting off white maps, maybe, Holbolt is definitely quicker and cheaper. If you're planning on doing some white maps, I guess it's probably better to stay Holbolt for a little longer until you get 2 facets in your build and have a little bit of mana per kill, so that's for the white maps. And then when you have 2 facets, you can start doing the yellow maps, and it's gonna be quite fast with the stuff I have right now. That's kind of CNC'd and the random and kind of not so min max, but it has the right stats anyway. It has the cooldown reduction and that. With those type of things and 6 mana per kill that I have, I can do the yellow maps quite fast. It's not like last season Warlax Barbarian, but it's not like a Sorceress Hydra, but it's not far, it's not much slower than a meta build, to be honest with you guys. It's just very hard to build this thing. It's the only real drawback. It's kind of okay, it works good. It's not kind of okay, actually, it works good, I should say. It's a good build, it's pretty fast at mapping. And then in yellows it's pretty fast, and in red maps and yellows, both in those have magic immunes, and those magic immunes you simply ignore. And in yellow maps, the magic immunes that you need to ignore are the ones that raise from the dead. And since you have Tyraels, nothing can be raised from the dead. So you ignore them, and they just stand there and throw their useless poison gas, or whatever the fuck they do. They just suck. So you just ignore them in Temple, which is the yellow one that has them. And in the red maps, you have Burnt Forest, which has those monsters which are flying with the tentacles and eating corpses and stuff like that. And you can ignore them as well. They don't really attack. They take a few moments, like a few seconds before they start attacking and doing damage, because they have to eat a corpse and spit the corpse, and that's when they do damage. Before that, they really don't do damage. They kind of just float around, so you just don't bother with them, and you're dashing strikes, so you're moving fucking lightning fast all over the place with charge and then dashing, so you can really avoid them and really easily. There's no reason to bother with them, really, and they don't kill you, so don't need to worry about them. And in red maps, however, I would recommend more than 2 facets. I don't know exact, I can't tell you how many facets to use because they don't have any. But more than 2, because they most likely, since they have other resists more, they probably have magic resist more, so more facets for reds. But I tried a little bit in player 8 red maps, and the decent damage with only 2 facets. It's just that it wasn't fast enough. I felt it in the player 8, comparably to other kind of builds in player 8, and I know by now, it wasn't fast. The damage, I was looking at the damage, when I was using my ability and also playing by feel and all these kind of things, and I could feel it, like even in player 1 this would be too slow, to actually farm, effectively. So at this point, with only 2 facets, yellow maps is the best, and they're quite fast, 2 facets. So I expect that when I hopefully get, more sockets to use and more facets to use, I can tell you more precisely how many facets you need before you start to really farm fast in red maps as well. But otherwise, that's about it. For red maps, I should also mention that you don't need to worry too much about the density with this build because of your high defense and your high block rate. And hopefully you don't have CNC'd rings, you have physical damage reduction rings and a 15 reduction Verdungo. You have a good PDR, good massive block, extremely high defense. You're pretty tanky. And pretty fast. I mean, it's not Assassin or like Javazon with the Storm Shield. It's not that, but it's pretty good. Like I said, I would say, if compared to a Javazon, which would be like a 10 for me, I would give this maybe a 8. This build, if you get all the stuff that you need. And it is a bit of work to play with switching all these skills and all that, but I think that's pretty fun. So that's what I like to do, and I also like to play a little bit weird builds, like Barbarian, So I really enjoyed playing Pall first time, and despite the bugs, I found a build that I really enjoy playing and that actually works in maps, and I would recommend others to try if they feel like playing a melee paladin in this patch, So that's it. Have a happy new year, and peace out, y'all. Peace out.